make public comments, please come to the podium, identify yourself.
My name is Dennis Smith from Sparta. I'd like to begin by saying, if you have to pay someone to be your friend, chances are they won't be. At the last meeting, Brian Edwards talked to you about a land issue concerning the old Bristol compressor property, which has recently been acquired by Bottomley Properties. It's my understanding that the building is being turned into a giant refrigerator. The Bristol compressor project consumed a lot of taxpayer money, so I wondered how a $40 million manufacturing facility ends up being a refrigerator. And how did a local farmer purchase the former $40 million facility for $1.5 million? If you go back to 1993, in an article in the Daily Press, they write, with one of the highest unemployment rates in the state of Virginia, Wise County needed the 500 jobs Bristol Compressor planned to create when it expanded and built a new factory. And after the company considered 80 sites in 7 states, it looked like the county would land a multi-million-dollar investment, said Les Covey, Bristol Compressor's Vice President of Human Resources. Wise County was a site that was in final contention, he said. That is, until North Carolina stepped in and offered to put together a persuasive proposal to bring the company to that state instead. We asked the company to allow us to prove to them that we were the low-cost alternative, said Robert Dunn, Regional Manager for North Carolina's Economic Development Department. North Carolina offered Sparta, a town and a county of about 10,000 people just south of the Virginia border, as an alternative to Wise. Dunn said his office pulled together money from the state, the town's businesses and residents to offer $19.2 million in grants and loans, about $38,000 per job, to lure the company away. So, around $19 million in taxpayer money brought Bristol Compressors to Allegheny County. On November 24th, 1993, for the sum of $10, Allegheny County deeded 50.204 acres to York International, a Delaware corporation. There was no excise tax recorded on the deed. On September 6, 1994, York International, a Delaware corporation, deeded the property to Bristol Compressor Sparta, Incorporated, a Delaware corporation. There was no excise recorded on the deed. In August of 2001, Bristol Compressors announced that it would be closing the Sparta manufacturing facility in 2002. On October 16, 2002, Bristol Compressor Sparta Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, filed papers in Delaware to change their name to Sparta Plant Incorporated. On December 12, 2002, Sparta Plant Incorporated, a Delaware corporation located at 114 Industrial Road, Sparta, North Carolina, deeded the property to Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at 2400 West Carson Street, Suite 235, Torrance, California. $8,000 was recorded as the excise tax on the deed. 3 days later, on December 15, 2002, Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at 2400 West Carson Street, Suite 235, Torrance, California, deeded a 9.15% undivided interest in the property to Richard H. Stolzman, trustee of the Richard H. Stolzman Trust located at 22010 Canyon Drive, Topanga, California. There was no excise tax recorded on the deed. 1 month later, on January 15, 2003, Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at 24 West Carson Street, Suite 235, Torrance, California, deeded a 41.86% undivided interest in the property to Lamert, Carolina, LLC, in care of Walter H. Lamert, Jr., trustee of the Tim Lamert Family Trust, located at 606 North Lamont Boulevard, number 302, Los Angeles, California. There was no excise tax recorded on the deed. Then on November 13, 2003, Lamert, Carolina, LLC, LLC in care of Walter H. Lamert Jr., trustee of the Tim Lamert Family Trust, located at 606 North Larchmont Boulevard, number 302, Los Angeles, California, deeded back the 41.86% undivided interest in the property to Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at 2400 West Carson Street, Suite 235, Torrance, California. There was no excise tax recorded on the deed. 11 days later, on November 24th, 2003, Richard H. Stolzman, trustee of the Richard H. Stolzman Trust, located at 22010 Canyon Drive, Topanga, California, deeded back the 9.15% undivided interest in the property to Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at 2400 West Carson Street, Suite 235, Torrance, California. There was no excise tax recorded on the deed. Then on November 4th, 2008, Sparta Business Park, a Delaware limited liability company located at the new address 12214 Lakewood Boulevard, Downey, California, deeded the property to Sparta NC Industrial Plaza, a Delaware limited liability corporation located at 1 West Larchmont, New York. $4,700 was recorded as the excise tax on the deed. And finally, on March 28, 2011, Sparta NC Industrial Plaza, a Delaware limited liability corporation located at 1 West Avenue, Larchmont, New York, deeded the property to Bottomley Properties, a New York limited partnership located at 5071 Glade Valley Road, Ennis, North Carolina. $3,000 was recorded as the excise tax on the deed. The county government forced every taxpayer to participate in this project by imposing the wheel tax on the people. And then when Bristol left, the county government asked Bristol to do what the county itself was unwilling to do: return the money it had taken from the people through the wheel tax. Instead, the county government continues to increase our taxes while keeping the county in debt. As for Bristol compressors, they were sold in 2005 to Johnson Controls. In 2007, Johnson Controls sold them to KPS Capital Partners, LP, a New York private equity firm. And in January of this year, KPS sold Bristol to Garrison Investment Group, LP, another New York private equity firm with a reputation for dismantling companies and selling off parts. Bristol has gone from employing 2,000 workers to around 700. It wasn't bad luck that closed Bristol, Haynes, Troutman, the Shoe Factory, Carolina Nares, and other businesses. It was government policies, and if we don't challenge and fight back against those policies, we will continue to go down the road to destruction. I've heard people say tourism is the way to go, and the Parkway can be our economic salvation. I've heard that for years, and so far it hasn't worked out. This year, the Parkway couldn't even get anyone interested in running the facilities at Downton Park. A headline in Blue Ridge Parkway Journeys states, Blue Ridge Parkway, historic landmark, Bluffs Lodge and Coffee Shop, could remain closed indefinitely. The article went on to say, the operating concessionaire, Forever Resorts, has indicated that they will not be renewing their lease agreement with the Park Service next year. Other properties that will be affected by their pulling out of the Parkway or the Blue Ridge are Mayberry Mill, Rocky Knob Cabins, the boat rental operation at Price Lake near Blowing Rock, North Carolina, and the Crabtree Falls Coffee Shop south of Little Switzerland, North Carolina. The Park Service is also looking for someone to run the Northwest Trading Post. If you consider increasing gas prices, the growing likelihood of more and more war, and the private Federal Reserve pumping $40 billion more dollars into the economy each month, tourism may not help us that much. In every discussion on maintaining a strong local economy I have heard or read about, the point is always made that to maintain a strong local economy, the community needs to keep its money circulating as long as possible and as quickly as possible within the local community. When the money is spent at a business that's not locally owned, and those dollars leave the local community, That leaves less money to be used to benefit the local economy. For example, in Sparta, there are 2 shopping centers. At one time, they were both locally owned. The rents collected were controlled by the local owners. Then one of the shopping centers was sold to a New Jersey corporation. Now the income from that shopping center most likely leaves the local economy and is no longer available to benefit the local community. To keep the most money circulating within the local economy, Fareed Kavari, Ph.D., a noted economist and author of 9 books and candidate for Florida governor on the 2010 ballot, is advocating that counties create and own their own bank, similar to the North Dakota State Bank. North Dakota has the lowest unemployment in the United States and a budget surplus of over $1 billion because they do not rely on Wall Street for money. Dr. Kavari's ideas are being adopted by political candidates of both parties across the United States. In an interview in 2009, Eric Hardmeyer, president of the Bank of North Dakota, said, "Really, what separates us from private banks is that we plow those deposits back into the state of North Dakota in the form of loans. We invest back in the state in economic development types of activities. We grow our state through that mechanism. Over the last 10 to 12 years, we've turned back $1/3 of $1 billion just to the general fund to offset taxes or to aid in funding public sector type needs." Listen to what Abraham Lincoln thought about money. He said, "The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credits needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of the consumers. By the adoption of these principles, the taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest. Money will cease to be master and become the servant of humanity." The Allegheny County Bank would be an example of thinking outside the box. It might be something to consider. The following prayer was offered in the United States Senate. We confess, our Father, that we know in our hearts how much we need Thee. Yet our swelled heads and our stubborn wills keep us trying to do without Thee. Forgive us for making so many mountains out of molehills and for exaggerating both our own importance and the problems that confront us. Make us willing to let Thee show us what a difference Thou couldst make in our work, increasing our success, diminishing our failures. Give us the faith to believe that if we give Thee a hearing, Thou wilt give us the answers we cannot find by ourselves. In Jesus' name, amen.